just put the recorder on for this meeting. There have apologies from Councillor Kelly Phillips and Councillor Kate Walker.
I propose that we accept those apologies. Do I have a second? Councillor Blackshaw. All those in favour? That's carried. Item 2 is to receive declarations of interest and to consider any request for dispensation in accordance with the Code of Conduct.
Yes, thank you. But I want to declare that I'm a district councillor and therefore will also be raising the precept.
Item 3, to agree and sign the minutes of the council meeting held on the 8th of December, Appendix 1. It's been seconded. Councillor Benn.
There's just an amendment, 25/209.
Sorry.
25/209, point D.
Yeah.
I believe the last line should read January meeting rather than December meeting.
No, it should be.
Keep getting that.
That would be clever, wouldn't it? Meeting.
Get them in before we start.
Thank you, Councillor Benn.
Propose to accept.
Without amendment. Could I have a second? All those in favour? That's carried. Public participation. No.
Oh, sorry, good. Yeah. A couple of things, trying to have some new material for the year. I note on the Borough Council website and on the Parish Council website, Councillor Holland has no page, and as such, I have no way of telling if he has any conflicts of interest. I am assured he's a veritable Mother Teresa of honesty and aptitude. But for the record, it'd be nice to know if he had anything that would possibly influencing his voting this evening. I believe he's retired, but can't speak for what his Swiss bank account is doing.
Is that on the Charmwood side?
Charmwood and ours.
I can answer that. The deputy manager contacted me today for a picture and a bio, which I'm giving them over the weekend, so we should be up there by Monday next week.
That's reassuring, thank you.
But the declaration of interest has been completed and signed by Councillor Holland and sent to the Borough Council before Christmas, long before Christmas. So don't know why they haven't. They're just probably shortage of staff or whatever. They haven't published it yet. We don't publish them. We because they link to the Borough Council website.
On our website, it's noticeable that the expenditure is no longer in the expenditure list. It seems now to be attached to the minutes, but there's nothing in the expenditure section that says that. It wasn't hard for me to find. I took a punt, it would be in the minutes, but just in terms of tonight trying to work out expenditure in terms of the budget, it was harder than expected. So on one of the pages there is the monthly expenditure over £500 PDS, but that stops at July of last year. And I think now it seems to be attached to the minutes of the meetings rather than published separately, which isn't, you're meeting with probably the statutory requirement, but it's obviously, it's confusing, it's moved location without there being a reason expressed.
Hasn't moved, and it is there up to date to October, because at the moment November and December are not reconciled. So indeed, as far as I understand, it's updated to October. And they are different. So one meets the statutory requirement, the one we talked about in terms of expenditure over £500. We tend to publish everything, to be honest, there, which is a duplicate of what we do with the approval lists, but they do serve different purposes. One is because the government requires us to publish all expenditure above £500. And we do that when we've reconciled to make sure we don't miss any payments. And then obviously they are all expenditure is attached to every full council meeting because council approves all expenditure, so it should both be there.
When I checked last week, it wasn't. I'd take your word for it.
It is October, yes.
Okay, last time I looked it was July. Would there be a possibility of adding a plugin to the website, because it's WordPress, to index the PDFs, because a lot of the information is now in PDFs, and it means if you're searching for stuff, by default the PDFs are not searchable on the website because the text that's within them is not indexed by the search, it only searches through the pages that are typed in manually. So it would be useful if I searched, there's a free plugin I can email you, obviously you need to check it and verify it and so on and so forth, but it would be useful in terms of finding things on the websites.
If it's possible.
Yeah,
no problem.
I'll send you a link. Keep going over lots. Silent Park was vandalised over the weekend by somebody on a quad. Drove over the park, and a couple of other parks nearby appear to have been met similar fates. I checked walking on the school run this morning. It's noticeable that the Memorial Park has one entrance where there is no gate limiting access. So if you come off it from the lower Kingfisher entrance, I think it's just wide open. There's nothing to stop you get a small car if you fancied it, and it would be a smart car, but there's nothing to stop a powered vehicle getting on.
Councillor Batchelor.
I know that the village warden is aware of that particular gap, and I believe he was looking into issues of ways to plug it, because there had been an issue of a car using it to get in and out of the car, the Salt Valley Leisure Centre car park when it had been locked in.
Yeah, but it's open basically, and if there are people going around doing that kind of thing.
So that's been looked into.
Yeah, cool. It's noticeable on the budget planning there is mention of a skate park and the budget being £50,000 to £100,000. Annoyingly, I made a PDF of a lot of information about this, but it hasn't come through to my inbox. I did a quick Google on various news websites, and I went to the 10 most recent mentions of new skate parks, and they were all. The cheapest one was 130,000. They went up to 600,000. I can email you the PDF when I get home, but I recorded where they got funding from and how much they were. I spoke to the people that made the new Leicester skate park, and they said an average skate park is £750 per square metre, and on the basis of the size of the skate park we have now, which I measured on Google Earth, it would come out about 390,000 if we replaced all of the space up there that we have with a concrete topped park. So just 50,000 if it was to build something comparable to say Silvies or the Southfields Park one in Loughborough, wouldn't seem to work. I'm assuming that Leicester went through tendering and so on to get competitive quotes, so I would guess that 750 would be an unreasonable per square metre cost.
Should we do these as we go, Chair? Should we deal with these as we go?
Yes.
I mean, I did get a couple of ballpark quotes. No, they're not obviously gone out to tender or anything because we don't have a budget or even know if the council wants to do it yet. And I'm talking about 100,000 probably, because I'm talking about 50,000 in the revenue budget and perhaps matching that with reserves. And it's not based on anything that compares with the city or even the size of the space. It's really what we could actually do, what would be quite minimal for that, or indeed replace the multi-use games area. We don't think we're going to try and do both in 1 year. So yes, they could go. Obviously, they can spend as much money as you want on these things. This was saying we could actually make something that would be usable for around that sort of money. But obviously, we can spend as much money as we want to.
Yeah, thank you. That's good.
Is that? Thank you. Which are doing that. Thank you. We move on to item 5, which is information update from the Chair and the Parish Manager. Just to let you know what representation I've done over December, representing the council. On planting of the tiny forest, and Ian, Sam and Liz can verify that it was very cold and muddy, and we're looking forward to seeing where those trees grow. On the 11th of December, it was absolute joy to listen to the children singing at Castleview Nursery, and the button orchid tree obviously added to that occasion. The 13th of December, the combined churches sang carols on the green, with guests Peter Bedford MP, Jeevan Sander MP, the Deputy Mayor Emeritus of Chelmsford, and guests invited residents from various groups, and the Deputy Mayor said they all had a wonderful time, so thanks to everybody involved. On Wednesday the 17th, I popped into Mother's Mingle, and Anthony was busy making a full Christmas lunch. Well, the table went all the way down the room, but it did really very well. So thanks to Anthony for that. On the 19th of December, it was judging the best Christmas shop window. It's 3 years since I started this up, and the display is better every year, and really have engaged not only the businesses but the residents as well. The winner was Curious Magpie, the winners of the food and Mountsorrel Pharmacy. The winner was presented the Best Staff Trophy, with a team cake basket from the NMC. And all entrants received the frame certificate. I'd like to thank Anthony and Caroline Moss, who helped with the difficult job of judging. It really was difficult this year. Just for information, I met this morning with Rebecca Elphick from Cancer Research UK about supporting the Turn Mountsorrel Pink and Blue campaign. You may have noticed that Corn last October did it when all the shop windows were pink, to raise awareness for cancer both for women and for men now. That's why it's pink and blue. It would entail businesses donating £10, dressing their windows and hopefully organising in-store fundraising. But they supply all the advertising material plus social media support and prizes. But they would like the support of the council, because obviously we know the business where we can mail out to. I'll put together the presentation of the next projects in the meetings, but thought all members might be interested in that this morning. Okay, thank you. Anything from you, Ross?
No, just that our admin assistant Lynn Osborne has decided to retire early, so she's handed in her notice, and we'll be looking and recommending to you what we do with that post once we've had a chance to review it. It only happened this week, so that's good. So, anything else from me at the moment?
Thank you, Ross. So, are we okay to move on to item 6, which is to receive the reports of county and borough councillors? Councillor Danks, do you have anything?
Just a very busy month at Council Hall, lots of meetings and things like that, helping residents with the queries and concerns. And a few festive things that I was doing. What I'm here to say really is just if any of the councillors need any of my help or support for any projects or things that they're doing at the moment, please contact me. I'd like to help you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Councillor Fox.
Do you want to go council back, or do you want me to go first?
That's not written report.
There you go, sorry.
Do you want to have a quick look at the written report?
You?
Yeah. So the only thing to add really to the written report is that from my personal perspective on the borough budget, I'm really pleased that we have been able to maintain the grant funding that we've previously had, and also the Fix It group applied for a grant sort of quite last minute, and I was able to advise them to apply for a specific amount of money, which has cleared my grant budget for the year, so we're able to get that down exactly to the 0 point, and that's 2 years on the trot now, and hopefully we can do it again next year. But yeah, very pleased that we've been able to maintain the grant budget going forwards, and that's it really. The rest of it's in the report.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments to our councillors? To Councillor
I'm just quickly cross-referencing mine with yours to see if I think I've got a few things. So the first thing, I submitted this just because I come straight from work in case I got stuck in traffic, so I don't know if you printed it off already or do you
I
want to
haven't
start?
seen it,
Fine.
sorry.
So essentially, we are still hearing less residents in Mountsorrel Castle than in Corn. Obviously, we're Corn and Mountsorrel Castle. So I put right at the top of the report, just we continue to invite residents to get in touch with us directly, and I put our contact details. Obviously, we want to be as involved as possible, but the more people contact us, the more involved we can be. When we first got elected, we were here quite a bit because there was a particular planning application that we heard a lot about, and we were here, and I think I met with Ross actually, you were doing a meeting in the Parish Council, but we can only respond to what we get in. So can that, just to say that message, we really want to hear from more people in Mountsorrel Castle. Our contact details are at the top, please get in touch because we're here to help, and that's sort of, we like to hear more from people. So, I'll go through the details in a second. So I received an invite from the quarry inviting me to a meeting prior to Christmas Day. It was on the 22nd of December. And as I understand it, it had come, the recommendation had come through the liaison committee, the quarry liaison committee. Now, I spoke with Malcolm Lawyer at the meeting, and I think there had been some confusion on the quarry's part about who were the borough councillors for what, because I think Councillor Backshore and Councillor Harp-Davies, that they think you two are the whole of Mountsorrel, and that Councillor Westley and I are Corn, because I haven't been getting the invites to the liaison committee, which I understand they chair and run. So my confusion was where this all come from, but it's a good end, which is that I think they thought Councillor Westley and myself weren't supposed to be invited to the liaison committee. I feel like you're going to add something.
So the liaison committee has 2 spaces on it for Mountsorrel councillors.
Yeah.
So you're appointed by the monitoring, well, by council, but effectively by the monitoring officer. So you would need to talk to Karen about that.
Fine, okay.
But there are 2 spaces on that committee for borough councillors, and they've always gone to the Mountsorrel councillors.
That explains
I
it.
have absolutely no problem with you coming in, well, except that it's a small room, and I just want you to know.
Anyway, so I was just trying to put together. So somewhere, the liaison committee had got in touch with the quarry, unbeknownst to me, and asked the quarry to invite me to a meeting, which I was very happy to attend. So I attended with Malcolm Lawyer. Obviously, the whole quarry planning application sits with the county, so it's much more of a county matter.
Yeah.
But the borough council is a consultee, so there is a role that the borough council can play. Broadly, I met Malcolm Lawyer because I will accept any invite. We discussed objections from residents, which I'm aware of from attending the lobby group meetings, and then I raised particular concerns about air quality, which is of all the issues, probably the issue which most clearly sits with the borough. As a result, the quarry have followed up with quite a lot of information which they've sent to my inbox about who's responsible for what and how they currently monitor. I haven't had the time to go through it in detail yet, but that's just where I've got to. I think I met them on the 22nd of December and we're just early January. But it's just to let you know that I have had that involvement. That's really helpful because I was trying to pick apart with the quarry liaison committee and I didn't know that. So I'm really happy to be a part of that, but I haven't been invited previously, and I think there was just a confusion as to whether I should be there, I shouldn't be there. So I'm very happy to be there, but I haven't been invited. So I'll get in touch with Karen.
Yes.
This is a little bit more to do. Well, no, it's not. So obviously, Corn flooded the last 2 winters. But I know Mountsorrel Castle obviously gets the flooding down Granite Way, near Waitrose as well. So I have been working with our local flood wardens because there were fears it was going to happen again this winter, and how the planning process, their concerns about the current planning process. So I have worked with the Corn Parish Council. I'm very happy to work with Mountsorrel as well to formulate a question about the planning process and how that could be adapted to help prevent flooding in the future. So I think there are always the sort of big issues around the house quarry extension and the flooding and the role the borough council can play. On a slightly more upbeat note. So I've got some updates from the Borough Council. I've got children's play area is going to be improved at Lufton Park, which is very exciting. And I've also got, there's the opportunity to register for an event to mark the town deal success. So businesses and entrepreneurs are invited to a free event. It's a business lunch and it'll take place on Wednesday the 4th of March. But I've sent the details of that into Ian, who I believe is your deputy manager now. And I'm going for you with the details there. That's just two opportunities. Are there any questions or anything I can add? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I'll get in touch with Karen. So I'd like to be, I think pretty much the application sits in Mountsorrel Castle, so I'd like to be more involved. So thanks so much. I'm really trying to go to actually having some children. So that's all right.
Thanks, Helen.
All right. We move on to item 7, which is to approve expenditure for October detailed in Appendix 2. Councillor Bennett.
I believe there's an amendment that needs to be made before we approve October and November. We're approving the wrong month. We should be approving December's expenditure.
Yeah, slightly, the way it's worded doesn't necessarily refer to, I mean, it says approved expenditure for October. It means, I mean, we're approving the expenditure that's in front of you, really, which crosses months. It's neither complete for October nor complete for November. But it's, because some of October's was done last month. September, sorry. So we're always crossing over. So, but I take the point, which is usually, as it stands.
So we're approving Appendix 2.
Yeah. You're being asked to, yes, which contains expenditure across 2 months. Not October.
I propose that we approve Appendix 2 expenditure, which covers the 2 months. I'll second it. Councillor Overton, all those in favour? That's carried. Item 8 is to review charges with inclination date of the 1st of 2026, which is
So these are all the charges, apart from both the MOT, which were reviewed as part of the MOT committee considerations of the business plan. In the budget report, I'm taking inflation on average to have been 4%, and unlikely to be that or a bit less in the next 1 or 2 years. So there's a recommendation in there that we look at increasing charge by 4%. It's entirely a matter for council. It doesn't raise a huge amount of money, so it doesn't make a great deal of difference to the budget. But members may have in the past increased by small amounts, apart from 1 year where they held the charges as they were.
I'll open that to the floor. Any comments? Councillor Lennon.
Yeah, I think the way this year's going to go is going to be very tight. And there's going to be businesses going out and whatever. I know 6%'s been bandied around and 3% and whatever, but I think with the reserves that we've got, I'd like to propose a 2% increase, because I think it's going to be very tight for all residents in the village this year.
So that's 2% of our charges.
Of our charges,
Yeah.
2%.
Are we out of step? Because we're talking about the chop.
The burial charges.
Yeah, the burial charges.
Yeah, and the
then
rent charges.
Yeah, I know, but I'm making
Oh, no,
mistakes
that's the next bit.
of everything.
I understand, yeah. Remember that charges, Council members proposed, that it be 2%. It's up to council. I say, well, I think the year before last, we didn't make any increase at all.
I'm on about for the whole thing,
Yeah.
not just the burial charges.
Yeah, all the charges
Right,
are on here, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Do we have a second? seconder for that
So-
proposal? Councillor Bennett?
Just a quick question, because at the War Memorial Fields Trust we resolved on particular charges for use of pavilion and the pitches. So if 2% is passed, it doesn't match what the War Memorial Fields Trust resolved at the last meeting.
But that's up to council and up to the Royal Fields Trust. They don't have to be consistent.
Thank you.
I think it was 10% agreed, if I remember, from the minutes. Yeah.
So we have a proposal of 2% on the overall charges of the council. Do we have a seconder for that?
When you say overall, you're talking about
Just the
yeah,
charges.
just the burial charge.
There are charges on
No, the whole lot.
If you look over the page, if you look at the appendix 3,
Yeah.
you've got burial charges
Everything on that.
on the front page.
Yes.
You've
Yeah,
got
that's fine.
you've got parish room charges.
Allotments, pitch fees.
And allotments. And what I'm suggesting is that whatever we do, we round them up to the nearest pound. Because we did get ourselves into a position with the council where it was some of these had odd pence at the end, which makes a lot of makes life very complicated in charge.
So do I have a seconder for that?
No, I just wanted to make an amendment to that.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm okay with 2%. However, I do feel that pitch fees need to be in line with what was agreed at the War Memorial Fields Trust about the fees for the memorial field, for the pitch fees there, and use of the pavilion.
That would be 10%.
Yeah.
We didn't actually have a seconder for Councillor Bennet's proposal.
Second Councillor Hollyoak's proposal.
Do you just repeat that again?
I do feel that the the pitch fees that are at Househead Road need to be in line with what was agreed in terms of an increase in the War Memorial Fields Trust.
I don't think you're going to get any fees on Alfred Road at all this year, or possibly next year, because the planning has been put back to March.
No, this is for the current.
Yeah, it's Alfred
Fees.
Road.
Yeah, House of Road, we don't
Yeah,
we
but
have the
Alfred Road
pitches.
is only the juniors, isn't it?
Including
Yeah,
use of
the
the pavilion.
juniors. It's the juniors, yes.
We've always kept them.
Can I just say, can I make, based on Councillor Holyoak's suggestion, that it is the fees included in the appendix is a 2% increase with the exception of the pitch fees for Holstead Road, which go to 10%. And
That's what I'm
propose that.
seconding.
And
Yeah.
that's what you seconded,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
No, you just said about the pitch fees, didn't you? Sorry.
That's what.
I just say I was quite happy with the 2%.
Yeah.
However,
I
I
just
do
wanted to
feel
clarify
that
that. That's what I
the
think
pitch
was
fees
proposed.
for Househead Road need to be in line with the increase that was agreed by the War Memorial Field Trust.
Okay, so the proposal is a 2% increase in all charges, bar the Halstead Road pitch fees, which you wish to raise by 10%.
Yeah.
Do we have a seconder for that? That's Councillor Bennett.
That has been moved and seconded. That's something that's been moved and seconded at the moment. Councillor Lemon's proposal wasn't seconded,
No.
so that's
Raised by
okay.
10%.
Yeah. I think so.
So do we have, can we take a vote on Councillor?
Unless there are any amendments or...
Any more comments? So all those in favour of Councillor Hollyoak's proposal? Okay.
Sorry, can you keep your hands
Could you keep your hands up, please?
9 and 4.
Any against? Yeah.
No, he's not voting against.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. Oh, you were 4, didn't you? Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I think I'll see if there's a tree down here. Right. 99. To consider the draft 202627 budget appendix 4.
Chair, I'll just say a few things. Apologies that the paperwork that I prepared before Christmas didn't get sent out fully in my absence. So the narrative report was missing from the first shot, as was the complete spreadsheet with notes, but when I got back from leave, I sorted that out as soon as possible, so members got those, and they were then hand-delivered as well to those who have paper copies. So, obviously, we've had 2 meetings so far in November and December to discuss the budget, but there's no clear guidance given to myself as to what level of things you want to be included. I've picked up some things from those meetings which I've included, and it's entirely up to this meeting to decide whether it wants to include those, add extra things, take away things, and derive from that the level of council tax that will be set. So in some ways I've put together a proposal for the sake of tonight's meeting that at least gives you a sense of what it is you could do, and that equates to a 6% increase in the council tax, which would give us £50,000 extra to spend in the village, which could be, the only things identified at the moment were the replacement booger and the potential skate park. The other things that have been identified by members, I think, can be contained in notice boards. The improved Christmas decorations and floral decorations can be contained within the budget and used against the earmarked reserves. If members chose not to do any of those, and the maintenance, extra maintenance can be included. If members didn't want to, our council didn't want to spend extra money on Housestead Road, I mean, it's serviceable, it's passed the inspection again, I think. We can't get estimates for repairs. Nobody is interested really, because it's not. It will cost as much as replacing it probably. Then you could have a 0% council tax increase by just taking that out. In fact, it would be a slight decrease in council tax, but only marginal. A couple of tenpence a week or something like that. So I tried to give them an option. Then a few questions came in after the papers were sent out. So I did a supplementary report which is sent out today. Apologies for late to that, but I thought at least it's here, writing, it addresses some of the points and questions and queries that some members had, so that all members can share that. I said that, I re-emphasise again that you can change the rate of council tax by reducing expenditure or increasing income. Any new expenditure can be funded through increased income, making savings, or increasing council tax. And this notion that it's not precise, lots of these figures are approximate, because I said 1% council tax increase or 1% change in council tax equates to £6,000. But of course, if you change it a lot, then the precept changes, so the percentage changes in terms of what you get for it. So, if you decreased the precept a lot, then it would be more than £6,000, which would be less than £6,000. If you increase the precept a lot, then 1% of, say, £700,000 is £7,000. But at the moment, the council tax is around £600,000. The changes proposed here don't change it significantly, so 1% is around £6,000, give or take a few £100 at the edges. So I mean, that's trying to help you with a rule of thumb, really, in terms of understanding what happens when you change things. And I've also talked about the fact that it's easier to reduce expenditure, of course, in areas that are fixed. So you could, make savings on the Christmas decorations or floral decorations or Housestead Road improvements. But if you try to do it by changing things like staffing, then that's complicated and it incurs redundancy costs, so you don't actually achieve the saving you set out to. Also we spent a lot of time, work and effort and discussion drawing up the business plan for the OMC, and I would echo caution about not wanting to make radical changes there, because it's a very sensitive situation in terms of what we're trying to make, and we are driving it quite hard to generate as much income as possible. And I've got questions about the reserves, so I've outlined the reserves position as fully as possibly can. I touched on an update as of today, the reserves position, and we need to understand the distinction between reserves you can move around and those that you can't use for anything other than that which the money was given. So the Section 106 money for Castle Road, Seaton Road and the library is ring-fenced to those projects. We can't actually, council cannot lawfully spend it on anything else. And so that's, then you'll see that they're in bold, saying they're ring-fenced in bold italic letters next to it. So that takes out quite a large sum of the money, because we've obviously received a lot of money by way of Section 106 for those projects. So we're also recommended by the audit regime in the country for all parish councils to have at least 50% of our precept in the general reserve. So that's about £325,000, which we do have, about 317 at present. So we're doing well in maintaining that. Then there's about another £178,000 in earmark reserve, which is up to the council to decide, and it has decided in the past to allocate those money against things like maintenance, improved Christmas decorations, money that's set aside for capital works at the MMC, so it doesn't affect the revenue budget. And we have about £300,000 in cash in the bank, but we do spend about £80,000 to £100,000 a month, so that will see us through to the end of March. There may be, and there could be a slight underspend, and I'm a bit cautious about predicting that, you can imagine. I don't want to say to you we can have a big underspend and then we don't have enough money for our current running costs, but what we'll do, as we do every year, is as soon as we've closed the accounts at the end of March, so April, May time, we'll produce a report saying what, if any, the underspend will be. I'm not predicting it will be huge this year. It was larger last year because we're running quite a tight ship towards the budget. So that's really what I wanted to say about the budget, Chair. I think if Council tonight wishes to move away from, which you can do, from what I'm suggesting, because these are only two considerations, and not agree what is in 2.6 and 2.7, we need to work out precisely what those figures are. So it would be sensible to arrive at what you want to spend or what you want to set the council tax at, depending which end of this you're coming from, and then we can reserve that to be delegated to me just to make the exact figures, because it has to be down to the penny, and that's not so easy to do in the meeting. That's clear. To take any questions, Chair.
Before we open it to the floor, I wonder if we ought to address point 2.3, which is just to note that £7,750 has been added to building maintenance and repairs, bringing the total for building maintenance across the council to 25k. So we're happy to know that.
That was suggested at the last council meeting.
Have a show of hands, we're happy to know that. Thank you. So I think the best thing now is just to open it up to you for comments rather than work through the recommendations. What do you think? Is that what you want to do? Okay. Councillor Holly,
I think that this was first.
Oh, she.
I was seeking a point of clarification because we're still sort of going through rough figures-ish. What is the very last date that we can get the figures to China? Because I know it has to be at some point in February, but I can't remember exactly.
It was Friday. We're already late.
Oh, we're already late.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
But they know. So
Yeah. I thought it was February rather than
they
January.
brought it forward again. I mean, legally, we had this discussion last year, and hence I added the notes we had last year. Technically, the parish council doesn't have to set it legally until the 1st of March. But Charlton Borough Council, of all the borough councils and district councils in Leicestershire, has the earliest date from which they require parishes to set. And they have, in the past, set the precept for the parish council if the parish council hasn't met the deadline. Now, they're not supposed to do that, but they have done it. So I don't want us to take the risk.
Issue with the printing, but
Yes, it's to do with lots of things, yes.
I think it's probably wise to note that the smaller changes that we can to not make a lot of little changes that would result in Ross having to go back redo all the calculations and then bring it to the next full council meeting on the 9th, which might cause Charnwood Borough Council to go, I'm sorry, we're just setting it for that. So I think, you know, if I'm not especially happy about it going up by £11, even though that only works out at pence per week. I would feel more comfortable not including the mugger and bike track. However, I did get a lot of correspondence about the lights of the trees on the green, and I think they cost about 2,000 or 3,000 a tree. And I think we really ought to commit to doing at least 2 new trees, because the lights were going out at various times. And I think people do value the lights on the green. So I would propose taking the budget as it is, less the addition of the 50k towards new projects, but retaining an additional, we've already got some lights, haven't we?
Yes,
We've
you've got
6 lights, so that should do 2 trees,
you've
shouldn't
got
it? It is in there. I did see that.
you've got some in the budget which covers the kind of ongoing costs of putting the lights up and taking them down, and you've got £6,978.99 in the reserve, earmark reserve.
So I would think that the 6,000 should cover 2 new trees. So I would like to propose that we take the budget as it is, less the 50k for the skate park and the mugger, and that we seek grant funding to deliver that instead, which I realise would be a huge ask, but I'm prepared to go some way to help you with that.
So your proposal, Councillor Hoyle, do you want?
I just wanted to seek clarification again on in the reserve we've got 18,500 for village enhancements. Have we already made decisions on that? I can't remember as to what that's going to be for.
Well, that would be, so we've used some of that in the past, and because it's gone down, you see, from what it was.
Yeah, fine.
But they'll be the things like the extra notice boards that were members talked about at a couple of previous meetings that members of the public raised. Replacement benches, which have been on the list for a long time, but we haven't had the capacity to do yet. So that's the sort of thing that sits in against that budget. And these things take quite a lot of time to get quotes, estimates, suppliers, and so on to do. So there's also a discussion, I think, of one of the project amenities committees to look at enhancing the village gateways as well in some locations with flower displays and so on. So does that?
I'd like to propose that it still include the mugger and or the skate park with a mix of some of the reserves, and then external funding, as I said. So
I have looked at some external funding options for the mugger, but I mean, the employee scheme we don't qualify for, I don't think. We don't meet the criteria for. But there may be others. So, sorry, Councillor, is that an amendment? Well, Councillor Blackshaw's proposal hasn't been seconded as yet.
So Councillor Blackshaw, your proposal was
To remove the 50k, but to keep the rest of it as is.
okay.
In order to
What
meet
percentage
do a
increase is
final,
that there?
that would lead to a 0%.
Well, it would be a slight decrease in the current level of council tax you charge. So at the moment you charge £195 a year. If you remove the 50,000, it would probably go down to about £193.
To make the maths easy, isn't it just worth putting that bit to make it a 0%, whatever's left over, put it into earmark reserves for maybe the future of supporting a grant fund, or to go part way towards it.
A nice simple figure that we can agree tonight that can go to Charnwood.
If you take the 50,000 on, put 7.5 back in as an earmark for the mugger project or whatever, that makes it a 0 increase in council preset and a balanced budget, the way it's put forward tonight.
If currently I've obviously looked at these potential scenarios, and if you remove the £50,000 and set the budget as a precept at 0%, it will give you probably about £12,000 more per year than you currently have. That might seem odd because we're spending even more money, but that's because we made savings elsewhere in the budget and the income from the MMC has gone up. So we've actually got more income. So it's not. This is why it's quite complicated because you change one thing and other things have changed as well. But the effect of what Councillor Holland is saying is if you did want a 0% increase, you would actually have a bit more money to spend. If that would get rid of the 50,000, of course. You couldn't keep 50,000 and have a 0% increase.
Actually, happy to withdraw in a second that if Councillor Holland's making that proposal.
Chair, to just make one other point, we can talk about what we've got in the bank in cash at the moment, and we reckon between 80 and 100,000 a year for a month for the next 3 months. If we get the 100,000, we won't have any cash left in the bank. But whatever we don't get, we don't spend. Effectively, that could be pushed forward to go push ahead with the mugger.
Yeah.
So if we get 20 or 30,000 to spend, we're not going to be far off getting enough money to start to work towards that project anyway. And if we get some grant funding, we could probably move it forward even quicker. So.
And we did have a proposal also from Councillor Boyd.
Well, I mean, there was a question about external funding as to when that's actually going to be available, and Ross has
Well, we looked at one.
it's potentially not going to be.
I tried to look at one area. That's all. To be honest, So
it could be
there may be other
possibility.
options, there may be possibilities.
And I think that we have to at some point relook at the village enhancements and what our priorities are. Whether that actually comes to that amount of money, and then we could perhaps fire it elsewhere to the mugger.
Yeah, I mean, one way of trying to meet everybody, what everybody's saying so far, and I'm not really spoken yet, of course, would be, as I said, when we come to like the main meeting, when we close the accounts, we know if there's an underspend, what it is, and then it's always open to council to revisit the earmark reserves any time of the year. So you could say, well, I want to take some from, here from the village enhancements, from there's a 6,000 which you're not using for the accountancy replacement, so you've got that, add that to the underspend, and you can do that anytime you want. You don't have to do that at the budget meeting. Those reserves sit there, they're up to you to decide how, when, where you want to spend them. But the earmark reserves, not the ring-fence reserves, as I've already explained. And I would advise not dipping in too much into the general reserve. Can do, but it is recommended to keep it at about half.
Yeah.
But the principle on that basis is not doing the mugger. It's putting the mugger away until we find enough money that may become available during the year to then keep it on the agenda, but not actually use an increasing precept.
I think we should prioritise that.
Yeah.
The mugger.
Yeah, but not use an increasing precept. The idea is not use an increasing precept to fund the mugger. Let the mugger fund itself if we can find money available.
Exactly.
So the proposal, I think, is a 0% precept increase, or no
I'll
increase.
withdraw mine, go back to the
With a view of keeping the mugger on the agenda, but looking to fund it through either external grant funding or through general spend throughout the year.
Councillor.
There's a clarification really. So on the reserve monies, Ross, when you've got the stuff that's earmarked and what the working balance you want to keep, so what would you actually class as the amount that's like free reserve that could be used at that million?
But the 178,000 that's earmarked really is free. So it's only the council in the past have decided to allocate it to those things. Council can always change its mind. I mean, I would say that of the 325,000, I wouldn't really encourage you, council, to spend a lot of that. But it is your money to spend. I mean, but it's used for emergencies on the whole. Yeah. But I mean, if there was some dire, need in the village or something, then we could take money from there, and next year we could perhaps, then top it up. So it does. So you have got some flexibility. But the projects that we're looking at, none of them. And we've got a health and safety reserve. We're doing health and safety work now. We're doing Legionella work. All things the council hasn't done in the past, all of which are being addressed. So there isn't, in the sense, I'm not coming to you with saying you've got to find the money to do this because it's a crisis or there's an issue. The Mooger is coming to the end of its life, but it's still serviceable for another year probably or so.
And these are just suggestions, have not really been finally agreed on. So it's just like provision for the future.
Yeah.
These we choose to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Councillor Butcher, were you seconding?
If Councillor Holland is willing to propose the 0% increase, then I'll happily withdraw my proposal and second his
But you
proposal.
still want to have the tree lights?
I still want to have the tree lights, but we can do that with the
Yeah, so
budget.
you might want to, I don't really want to exercise that or not. Do you want me to?
I would like to emphasise, yes, that we can do the tree lights, please. Given the number of emails and messages.
So the proposal is 0% increase,
That's what we need.
seconded by Councillor Blackshaw. Are we ready to go to a vote?
Can I just clarify that we're removing the...
Yeah. Sorry,
Can I just clarify that we're removing the 50k and then it's the 0% increase on that basis? Thank you.
Are there any more proposals? Are we happy to go to a vote?
Can also then, Council, at the same time, delegate to me to complete the calculation that will set the council
To get it right, yeah.
It will be lower than, I think it will be lower than it currently is because of that 0% increase. No, I can do that, but I mean, it will be, I can't say what the nearest penny is, I can't say what it will be. So is that okay?
Okay, so we're happy to go to a vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, is that an amendment to the proposal and second?
What is?
Delegating the authority.
I'm asking somebody to move that that's included, really. I can't move things.
I'd like to propose you to delegate authority to that.
I'm happy to include it as a delegation to
Yeah.
make the amendments on the accounts to forward in through to a 0% increase.
Okay. We're happy then? All those in favour?